Shalom Aleichem everyone, I hope everyone is doing very, very well. It is now Erev Shabbos Parashat Shlach, and we have our last Shabbos of the year. Our banquet is on June 10th, on Sunday, and then the year is over. Baruch Hashem, a really, really successful year this year. Guys are doing great. We have a record number of guys coming back Shana Bet, a large Shana Aleph coming in. We're, Baruch Hashem, very, very excited. We read about Parashat Shlach, and of course we read about the Meraglim. And the beginning of the parsha identifies each of the Meraglim, and then we are told that Vayikra Moshe leHoshea bin Nun Yehoshua, that Moshe changes Yehoshua's name. Moshe doesn't like the name Hoshea. He feels it's not the right name to set Yehoshua up for success, and therefore he alters the name from Hoshea to Yehoshua. What was the fear? What was why is this significant? Why is this important? What was Moshe's concern? So perhaps one can argue that Moshe was concerned a little bit. He foresaw what might be happening over here. You have these other Meraglim, 10 of them, that Chazal referred to, the Pasuk refers to as an Eidah Ra'ah. There was something amiss. They had a certain different hashkafa. Their agenda was not to get the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael. And here you have Yehoshua and Kalev. And they were going to have to somehow have the conviction, have the fortitude, have the inner strength to combat the designs of the other Meraglim. And who was Yehoshua? So we're told by the Chumash, by Chazal, that Yehoshua was Moshe Rabbeinu's right-hand man. He was the Na'ar, who was always beside Moshe. And perhaps Moshe had an inkling. He was sensitive to something that perhaps Yehoshua needed some chizuk in order to go ahead and withstand the challenges of the Eidah Ra'ah, the other 10 Meraglim. He's outnumbered. In order for him to withstand what they're about to do, he's going to need some kind of chizuk. So he changes his name to Yehoshua. There's a very beautiful and a very famous Chazal that tells us where exactly did this Yud from Yehoshua's name come from. So Chazal tell us that there was a dangling Yud that needed a place, needed a home. And when Sarah Imenu, her name of course was Sarai, and when her name was changed from Sarai to Sarah, so that Yud was upset. The Yud complained, the Medrash says, the Medrash on this week's Parsha, on these Psukim, the Yud complained to Hashem, the little Yud, that I used to be attached to a name of a tzadekes, and now I've disappeared into oblivion. And the Yud has a taina against Hashem, you took me off of a tzadekes, what's going to be? And Hashem responds to this Yud, don't worry, fear not, that while you were attached to the end of a name of a tzadekes, Sarai, now you're going to be front and center, the name of a great tzaddik, you're going to be in the front of the name of the great tzaddik, Yehoshua. So the Sarai, the Yud of Sarai, is now going to find its, if you will, permanent home, permanent resting place in the name of Yehoshua. And that somehow assuages the concerns of this Yud. What exactly is the Medrash telling us? What exactly is the idea of this linkage between Sarah Imenu and Yehoshua bin Nun? So, one thing we know about Sarah, and while Sarah was Avram Avinu's Akeres Abayis, the mother of Yitzchak, but one thing about Sarah was she had a fire inside of her. And when there was danger, when there was someone, a risk, something that would subject perhaps Klal Yisrael to attack, Sarah was there at the forefront to protect her children, to protect the Jewish people. And nothing would stand in her way. So when she saw Yishmael as a potential threat to Yitzchak, she saw this complicated family, Hagar Yishmael, in their midst, and she saw that that could have a deleterious influence on Yitzchak. So the Edel Madel that you might think Sarah was, the Tzadekes that Sarah was, the Akeres Abayis, so she goes into action. And she says, Gareshes Hamazos, Hagar has to be banished, Yishmael has to be banished. Avram says, how could I go ahead and banish my own flesh and blood? And he turns to Hashem, and Hashem says, Kol asher tomar Sarah, Shma b'kola. Whatever Sarah says, she's right. Follow her lead. She knows exactly what she's doing. Sarah is a person who has a fire inside of her, who has intestinal fortitude, who knows that, yes, while our natural instincts is to take care of a son that is our own flesh and blood, sometimes you have to make a strong separation. Sometimes you have to draw lines, and that requires a tremendous sense of strength, of courage, and fortitude, inner conviction. That's what Sarah was. And perhaps Moshe understood that Yehoshua, who was his right-hand man throughout, he was the person who was Mishamesh, Moshe Rabbeinu. But now in dealing with the Meraglim, the other Meraglim, Yehoshua was going to need some of that strength of Sarah, some of that passion of Sarah. It's a beautiful Medrash Tanchuma on Parshas Chai Sarah, that the song that we sing, the Psukim in Mishlei, that we sing every single Friday night, Eishes Chayil Mi Yimsa. Every pasuk the Medrash Darshans is talking about Sarah, an Eishes Chayil, a woman of valor, a woman of strength. And the Psukim say, Darsha Tsemer Upishtim, that she seeks out Tsemer and Pishtim. And the Medrash Tanchum has a beautiful drush and says that's referring to Sarah Imenu, Gareshes Ha'amazos is sending Hagar away, sending Yishmael away. What's the connection between Darsha, Tsemer, and Pishtim and sending Yishmael away from Yitzchak? So perhaps the answer, the simple answer is that Tsemer, wool, is wonderful. You can make very warm clothing from wool. It's a great material. It's Pishtan, linen, also a wonderful material. They're great on their own. But when they go together, Tsemer and Pishtim, now you have shatnez. They don't mix. They need to be separated. So that is what Sarah does. Darsha Tsemer Upishtan, and she identifies that this, yes, Yishmael needs to be separated from Yitzchak. That requires strength, and that strength, that fortitude, that inner conviction is exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu understood that Yehoshua needed. And as he's about to embark on this very challenging mission, to scout out the land, to set things up for Klal Yisrael to enter into Eretz Yisrael, knowing that there would be this inner strife with the other Meraglim, so Yehoshua needed the strength to step up to the plate, and that's what Moshe understood, and that's why the Yud of Sarai goes to Yehoshua, creating a bondedness between these two Torah personalities. That's the link between Yehoshua and Sarah, and of course, Yehoshua, while he does not convince the Meraglim of the correct way to think, but he does have that stance of leadership, that stance of standing up for what's right. We can do this. We can achieve. We can overcome. And it's that midah that sets Yehoshua up to be the future leader of Klal Yisrael. And while he cannot defeat the Meraglim, but he's going to be the one who's going to bring Knesset Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. He's going to be the one who's going to finish this mission, finish the mission of Moshe Rabbeinu. And where did he get that strength? He got that strength from Sarah Imenu, from the first of the Imahos, who passed that strength on to her children, ultimately to Yehoshua ben Nun. And perhaps that's this idea that Chazal are telling us, linking the personality of Sarah to the personality of Yehoshua. So we should all be zocha to have an inner sense of conviction, of strength. And when we know that we have to make some hard decisions, draw on the strength of Sarah, draw on the strength of Yehoshua to make those decisions successfully.